We'll begin by acknowledging the Ngadjuri and the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians of the land and waters of the Light Regional Council area. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present today. Attendance, we do have an apology from Councillor Phillips Ryder. Councillor Michael. Do we have any further apologies, councillors? No further apologies. We have no leave of absence and we have no non-attendance. We'll move to section 3 of our council meeting, which is the confirmation of council minutes. The first one being the minutes of the confidential meeting of the ordinary council meeting held Tuesday, the 23rd of January 2024, to be confirmed as a true and correct record of that meeting. Do I have someone move that way, please? Thanks, Councillor Lynn. Would someone like to second that? Councillor Ellison, all those in favour? Those against, that's carried. Thank you, councillors. The next one we have is the confirmation of the minutes and confidential minutes of the special meeting held Tuesday, the 6th of February 2024. I have someone move that way that they be recorded as a true and correct record. Thanks, Councillor Dean. Someone like to second that? Councillor Bill. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried. And our third one, we've been a busy council with council meetings and various other projects as well. But the third one is the confirmation of the council minutes and the confidential minutes of the special council meeting held Tuesday, the 13th of February 2024. Would someone like to move the minutes of the confidential meeting and that special meeting be held be a true and correct record? Thanks, Councillor Fabio. Someone like to second that? Thanks, Councillor Ellison. All those in favour? Those against, and that's carried. Thank you, councillors. We move on to our communications. I've had a very busy period, and I think we all have with so many meetings and so forth, and so much on our plate at the moment, councillors. But I've been particularly busy, and probably one of the things that I would like to begin by passing over to you is the funeral of an ex-council member here who served 2 terms of council, Ron Kubish. Ron was the works manager of this council for many years and a great character locally also. Ron passed away and his funeral was on the 23rd of March, just recently. I also had the great honour of being once again invited to the Barons of the Barossa ceremony. Each year they have called the declaration of their vintage. The Barons of Barossa date back to about 1974, when I think they had 12 members, all very esteemed winemakers and part of the wine industry. And they did a lot of good work over a lot of years. They've grown in stature, but they've grown in numbers also. Now they have basically 2 lots of barons. They have the barons with the big gold silks down the front of their robes and the ordinary barons. But there's a lot of them and they do great work in their own way. They've built the Barossa cellars in Lights Pass. Stefan Arns is one of the barons and he was a great mover behind that. And it's the most incredible building you could wish for. It's just amazing when you go inside of that and you have a look at the wine cellar, etc. They also are blessed each year by having donated to them 1 bottle of the 100-year-old Seppeltfield port. They've got 1 bottle from the year 1878 to 2024, probably the only complete set in the world, and it sits at in Vine Vale. We had a meeting with the Honourable Zoe Beddison, who's Minister for Tourism and Multicultural Affairs, a few days ago. A delegation of council went down there to talk with Zoe, who's a good friend of Kapunda. She went to Kapunda High School and she's very familiar with this area very much. And she's also been a great supporter, particularly of our Drovers Encounter project. And she was there to listen, to hear where we were up to with that project. And we got a good slice of her time, and I'm sure her continued support. She was very supportive of the project, considering it to be one of the the keystones of South Australia's tourism future if we can finally develop that project. Also, the Merrill Award at Xavier College, it's outstanding college, of course, as we are aware, and some of the students that are graduating from that school are a great credit. This year, their dux of the school was Albie Turnbull. Albie is actually a young lady who had an ATAR of about 98 or something like that. It was very, very high. And she's going on for some very big things at university for her future, probably in medicine. And it's a great pleasure to be there. There's something like 1,200 students in that school now. It's an amazing place. The Australia Day celebrations, I think we spoke very briefly, if I recall, at a previous meeting, but I think this council can be very proud of what we do on Australia Day and how we do it. And Roseworthy this year was no exception to that. And I thank all the elected members who took the time to be there as well. It was greatly appreciated certainly by myself and by the people of Roseworthy to see their council supporting their efforts in celebrating Australia Day. It went very, very well indeed. That's when we had the presentation also of the Inspiration Award to Dr. Max van Dissel. And we were able to even comment that there's probably not many people who were attending that day that wouldn't have had something to do with Dr. Max somewhere along the line, as he has, as an obstetrician, delivered over 1,500 babies. So I think there's many people there that would probably be involved somewhere along the line. Yesterday, I had the great fortune of attending the Metropolitan Fire Service, our Kapunda Brigade here. They had an award ceremony at the Sir John Franklin Hotel. They have won the regional award for the top MFS brigade in the whole of the region. First time they've picked that award up for 32 years. It's a great credit to them because it's a very small number. I think they've got 7 members, but they do things very, very well. They're a little bit landlocked up there, and they might be looking to our council in the future to perhaps sort of see if they can't do a land swap somewhere and put their brigade in a more accessible place. But that's for the future, and they're more than happy to come along and talk to us about that. But I'm really glad I attended that day and was able to say a few words on behalf of our council, acknowledging those really strong volunteer group to win an award like that is something pretty special. The 4x4 Expo is coming up too, so I've had a fair bit to do with the Bunyip paper in the last couple of days in relation to that. The event that we really want to get behind, and we did last time, and it was a great success. And I'm sure this time it will be even better now that they know what they know. A fantastic event for our region, and one I hope many of us can get down and see. I don't have very much more to say, councillors, unless there's any questions. And if not, I'll pass over to any elected members who may have a report or anything they'd like to raise. Thanks, Councillor Lynn.
Open in July. So that'll be good. We'll have a medical centre in July.
That's marvellous. Great news. And, we can't speak highly enough of our medical facilities here in this town and what it brings to a town. It gives people a peace of mind, all of those things to have those sorts of facilities available. All we need now to go, and there's a petrol station, hey.
Yeah, that's right. Not going to happen.
No. Thanks, Councillor. Any further reports from anyone? If not, we'll move on. We've got 3 deputations tonight, or presentations, and the first one is from our local resident, Mr. Damien Ritchie. Damien has been invited to talk about the possibility of expanding the bus service from Kapunda to down south. Thank you, Damien.
Hello, everyone. I'd just like to say that, firstly, Light Region is a good place to live. The air is clean and people are friendly, and there is a connection to community. However, some of the resources and services that residents need to access are not found in Light. comprehensive medical care, community support agencies like Centrelink and tertiary education services. These services are located in Gawler and the Adelaide region. Presently, Link SA provides a bus service for residents to go to Gawler and Adelaide. This operates only during school terms. For those people who do not drive, do not have access to a vehicle, or who do not like to drive long distances, this is the only form of transport available. There are two other forms of transport available: the community bus that operates the first and third Tuesday of the month, and it only allows 4 hours shopping at Elizabeth. The Barossa and Light community cars provide personally driven access to medical appointments only, and this has time constraints. I'm proposing that at the very least, Light Regional Council provides a bus service that could operate during the 10 weeks of the year when a bus service does not operate. What can the council do? My understanding is that the council has access to or owns 2 minibuses. These could be used as buses for the community. The next question is, how would the employment of a bus driver be paid for? A volunteer driver could be employed, or money could be spent employing a bus driver. Money currently set aside for future projects could be used for employing a bus driver and setting up the bus service. The bus could operate Monday to Friday, leaving Kapunda at 8 a.m, stopping at Freeling and Roseworthy and arriving at Gawler between 8:45 and 9 a.m. Coming back, bus could leave Gawler at 5 p.m, go to Roseworthy, Freeling and arrive back here at Kapunda, say about 6 p.m. And the fare could possibly be $10 one way. Money set aside for future projects do not provide immediate benefits for the community. While the Drover's experience will be a major tourist destination, the benefits are only going to happen in the future. It will not meet the current needs of residents in Light. Using the minibuses already available will mean the good use of assets. As it is, the buses have to be maintained, serviced and registered. Why not make use of them for the current needs of the residents? What are the benefits and who will benefit? Increased awareness of localities within the region, use of assets owned by the community and maintaining those assets. Cost of living would decrease because there will be less need to drive. Residents could live in Light and work elsewhere. Visitors will be able to spend time in the region by staying for a couple of days using the bus service. The council will increase its presence in the community by providing the service. And finally, Light Region is a good place to live and it needs a bus service that will mean transport for all members of the community, non-driving and driving members of the community 52 weeks of the year.
Thank you so much, Damien. I might open for questions if you'd like to take a couple of questions.
That's fine.
Councillors, do you have any questions of Damien?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I've got one. Thank you for your
Councillor,
presentation, Damien. My question is, if we send a driver down there at 8:45, what does he do till 5 o'clock?
Well, what do the drivers who drive the Link SA buses, what do they do in between the time that they do the afternoon run? I'm not too sure. I haven't thought that through as yet. Sorry about that.
thank you, Damien. Any further questions, councillors? Councillor Simon?
You mentioned the Barossa and Light community cars. And so why do you believe there's still a need for a bus, since we do have a transport option for people that need to go to medical appointments?
Well, for people like me who don't drive and have medical needs, I need to go to medical appointments. And also I care for someone who has medical needs. Um, it's often the only chance I've got to do other things in the Adelaide and Gawler region that I can't do here. So using transport like that, you're limited to where you're going and who is driving you, and how much time they've got to actually provide for your medical appointments.
Thank you, Damien. Further questions, councillor Collin?
So, you mentioned that the Link bus goes down there now during the school year or during the term. So that's obviously taking kids to Trinity, Xavier, and the schools in Gawler. Is that correct?
Well, the link it provides well, for residents, say in Kapunda, for instance,
Yep.
it provides access to Gawler, and then from Gawler you can get the train wherever you like.
But how many people are using the facility at the moment during the school term?
For me, that's immaterial because people live here, and we need to be able to provide a service for people who actually reside in the localities of Light region.
No, but the question I'm just asking, so you're basically at the minimum, you're asking that the bus runs during the school holidays as well as.
No, only during school holidays, because at the moment we have a bus service that runs during school terms.
Yeah, and that's what the question is, how many people use the school bus or use the Link bus during the term that aren't school children?
I've been on the bus some days during the week, and there have been 7 people from the public who have been using the bus service. And that's leaving Gawler to come back here as well.
Yeah, thank you, Damien. Any further questions, councillors? If not, look, thank you so much, Damien. That was a very logical explanation, very clear, well researched. I think the feasibility of these things is always the question. And I think Councillor Collin raised that with numbers, because it is a numbers game. And I think the question in relation to what does a driver do for the time that is not driving the bus or she's not driving the bus, that's an issue we'd need to come up with. But probably first and foremost is the volunteers. This would, to be sustainable over a long period, it probably requires volunteers, a bit like the other bus schemes and the transport schemes that are already in place. They're all volunteers. To be a paid person would be a big chunk of this council's budget, and we'd probably want to see a reasonable return on that. So there's some issues that the council will need to work around. However, you've highlighted them, and you've highlighted them in a very clear manner, and we will certainly research your request.
I'll just respond to that by saying that that all residents are valued members of the community, and they need a regular form of bus service.
Well, we need to know who those residents are and how many of them.
Well, we can't say that for sure.
Well, no, but when you're going to spend a lot of money and put a service up, you need to do a feasibility study. So we'll need to research that and just find out what the count might be.
And can that be reported back to the community, the feasibility study?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. And that's, I think what you're putting forward is very logical, and it'd be great if it can happen. We're going to try and make it happen, but it's got to happen within the parameters of council's budgets.
Okay.
Because this is the people's money we're talking about that we spend.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Damien. Thank you
Okay.
for your time. We appreciate it. We move on now, and it's been my great pleasure to invite Karen Nichols, who's representing the Barossa Arts Festival, which I had the honour of attending the opening of recently, and I thank you so much for that. And it's nice to see you here tonight to present to the whole council, similar to what you did up there at Saltram. So that was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor Bill and councillors, for having me here today. I'm Karen Nichols. I'm the director of the Barossa Arts Festival. It's a biennial event. This is our second event. And it's got a lot of merit. And tonight I'm just going to quickly go through a few things for you. So hopefully you can see why you should be supporting us and what it does for your region. Firstly, it brings together over 100 artists from all around SA for a month-long festival. It has workshops, exhibitions, food and wine and art events, live music performances. Our arts festival connects communities. It promotes social inclusion and crosses cultural boundaries. It encourages a sense of community identity and offers opportunities for regional development and economic regeneration. Obviously, when we started this, it was in the middle of a COVID pandemic, and there was a huge reason behind that economic regeneration right there and then, but it continues still. Art and culture makes communities more vibrant, inclusive and resilient. And in 2022, in the middle of a pandemic, we certainly needed some of that. It made people and businesses think outside the box a little bit about why and how we do business and how we can change things. It made us look at how we can increase our visitors' expenditure here, what we can do to make people come and then stay longer. We've taken that on board with our festival, and we've changed a few things with this new event. Middle, thank you. I'm just going to skip through that. We've kind of gone through that. I just wanted to make a quick comparison between our 2022 event and this coming up event. We've increased our size, obviously. We've gone still a month event. We've got about 45 different venues on our arts trail, about 75 artists instead of the 60. And we've increased with some key dinners and some other things that are going to attract people and make them hopefully stay overnight for a little bit longer as well. My main reason for doing the event was to create a tourist attraction, and at the time, obviously that was important, and it still is, but also attracting a new audience, I think, is good. People don't always just come to our region just to drink wine. They are looking for some unique, different experiences, and we were keen to do that. We also want to create a platform for artists to be able to showcase their work and their talents of our creative community. And then we wanted to create a sustainable event, a long-term event that puts our region on the map as a must-see destination with our experiences, and to complement what we already have here and what we're well known for, which is amazing food and wine. And many of our events combine those things. We align very closely to the regional visitor strategy for 225 and Festival Australia program as well. So it's really all about creating something amazingly new and unique and different. We're very short for time, so I'm going to keep pushing through. These are the events that our festival includes. We've got the Arts Trail of 75 artists spread out over 11 town communities, and that's all in a lot of wineries, restaurants, cafes and galleries. We've got live art demonstrations, which sets us apart from other festivals and events, I think, and makes it very unique. A Makers Market, Battle of the Bands at Greenock, an Indigenous Cultural Day, a secret symphony dinner and a gala dinner with an art auction and a jazz band with 2D Arts as the recipients of the fundraiser for that. So it's quite a big event. These are the areas where Light Council is involved. So you can see there's a reasonably heavy involvement by Light Council, hence why we're here asking for your support financially to put this on. With us expanding, we obviously needed some more funds for this to happen. So there's quite a few events with the Arts Trail included there, as well as workshops. And then we've got our major event, the Battle of the Bands, which is fantastic for our youth in the community. And you would probably agree there's not a lot for our youth here. So that's something we're really proud to put on again. And it was very popular. We had over 500 people attend that in 2022, and it was a really great event. Our target audience is very varied. And really, we're trying to get families, retirees, nomad travellers, basically anyone and everyone. We think we've got something for them. So it's a really broad audience. We have a marketing company, Decant Digital, who's doing an amazing job of getting the word out there. and we're really trying very hard to make sure we are getting a crowd from not just Adelaide, but interstate and overseas as well. We have some amazing partners who are sharing the word, which is excellent, with sponsors and stakeholders. So our mission is to showcase these vibrant arts community, and we'd like you to partner with us to do that. We're basically asking the Light Regional Council to support us with our budget, with a $15,000 grant, hopefully, to help us cover our costs. And obviously, the costs you can sort of see out there, there's a lot of estimations of our income based on ticket sales for events, workshops and events. We've got some cash sponsorship, 46,000 at the moment, some in-kind. We've worked really hard to get sponsorship, but at the moment you would be aware it's very tough, especially locally, to get support. So we've had a reasonable amount of in-kind donations, which are fantastic, but they don't pay all the bills. Unfortunately, not everyone's going to work for nothing. So we do need some cash to pay for things like printing, signage, advertising, that sort of thing, like marketing company and website production, which is really quite huge costs for those things alone. So I would be happy to answer any questions if anyone's got any questions. It's been a pretty quick presentation. When I did it to the Barossa, we had Barossa Council, we had 30 minutes. So yeah, happy to answer any questions if anyone's got any.
Thank you so much, Karen. Councillors, are there any questions in relation to this festival? We've been on the journey before, Karen, and I think we had some very strong outcomes from your last festival, and it's great to see that it had enough legs to be able to be recreated for the forthcoming period. It's obviously a huge budget line that you've got there, and I'm sure our council will consider any application that you may put forward to council for funding support. And I'm sure looking at the 10 or 11 venues and organisations or companies that are involved in this festival in our council region is heartening. Also, our contribution to Barossa, the brand Barossa, we've not ever abandoned that. Our council area takes in 46% of Barossa, so we have a major commitment. And this, supporting events like this, demonstrates that we're serious. So, we really thank you for the presentation, and thanks for the opportunity to be able to get involved somehow.
I was going to say we've got Gawler on board now, Gawler Community Gallery, and obviously Kapunda is going to be one of our first port of calls of people coming from this direction, Gawler from people coming from the south. So who knows, in 2026 it could be changed to Barossa, Gawler and Light Festival with that sort of inclusion. We are expanding rapidly, and obviously, we've had a lot of interest from further out from here as well, so that's quite likely.
Yeah. Well, we have a wonderful art gallery here, manned by volunteers 7 days a week. It's got a terrific track record of exhibitions that have been staged there. Also from that gallery, there's a group of people called the mural committee, and when you come around or walk around town, you'll see some of those amazing murals. In fact, one of them won the top street art award.
I saw that. Yeah, we would love to have a mural being painted live during our festival, if that's any possibility to happen here. I was wanting to get the Kapunda mural group involved, and I'm still very keen to have something happen with Greenock with the sculpture trail that we spoke of some time ago. And just to let everyone know, we are all volunteers too. No one's getting paid on our committee. We're a very small committee, very dedicated and working really hard, but it's all voluntary.
Yeah. It'd be great to see our community here involved in a big way in this festival, because I think they've got the ability to contribute.
Absolutely, and you've got a vibrant creative community here spread out. Yeah. Thank you for the opportunity today.
Well, thank you so much, Karen. That was
and I've just left our budget there printed out on some flyers if anyone would like to have a closer look. Thank you.
Mr. Smith, just one question.
One of our accountants here tonight.
Don't look too closely if you're an accountant.
Mr. Mayor, can I just ask a question for me?
Yes, certainly. Councillor.
Thanks for your presentation, Karen. Just a query, the percentage of artists that are local, is there any idea?
That's a good question. I wish I'd actually worked that one out. We have got quite a lot of locals. The Karen Slape and the manager of your gallery here. There's two just from Kapunda, but there are quite a few local artists involved with our festival. I can't give you the breakdown really quickly. We've got quite a lot of new ones. Some I've never even met before, but a fair percentage are local to the Barossa and surrounds as well. So they do come from here. I'll get back to you with an answer for that one because I'd like to know now.
Well, it's a
Thank
great
you.
concept. And
Yeah,
thanks for
thank you.
giving us the opportunity to be involved. Appreciate that very much. It now gives me a great deal of pleasure also to introduce Michelle and Steve from the Kapunda Harness Racing Club, who organise and run probably our major tourism event in Kapunda, at least, and possibly wider, the Kapunda Rodeo, which we are, greatly honoured to see the success of that and to know that it's part of the culture of this town now. What's in its third or fourth year?
Or if I'm more than that, no, we've had 9 in the last 10 years. Missed one for COVID.
9.
Yes. We can use the term, it's not our first rodeo.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Steve and Michelle, for being here. We really look forward to what you've got to say.
Thank you, Mayor Beale. And of course, thank you to Light Regional Councillors for the opportunity to make the presentation tonight. It's just that it was the feeling of the Harness Racing Club and the Kapunda Rodeo subcommittee that with the rapid growth, and it has been very rapid, and the evolution of the event, that it was timely to give councillors and administrative staff a bit of an oversight of where it's at and about a little bit about the philosophies of the subcommittee's conduct of it. In addition, it might be that the activities of the Harness Racing Club per se may not be fully understood. We've had people say, "Oh, you still do that? You're still racing," and things like that. So, just to give a little bit of that also to council, we will have a PowerPoint display, which I'm proud to say has been generated in-house by our secretary, Michelle here, with input from the Harness Racing Committee, and obviously I'll be happy to take questions afterwards. So, we jumped well ahead there. There we go. Our logo. The logo was used for the first time in the last rodeo last year. It's classic, but it's actually meant to impart the perception of professionalism, and that we're not a Yahoo. We don't have starbursts and red lettering and all that sort of caper. We don't want, I'll be very plain, and the committee knows this and is on board with it, that we don't want a Yahoo culture at our event. Okay, so we that's not what we're about. The community groups, that's, sorry, I'm getting a little closer. That's very obvious. They're a big part of our event. The 3 main events that we have being the rodeo, obviously the swap meet and Kapunda Cup Day, community groups are involved in all of those, and they're listed there. And you'll note that probably apart from the SA Quarter Horse Association, all of these groups are very local. They're quite local, and Make-A-Wish Barossa even is part of the wider Make-A-Wish Foundation, but nonetheless it's the Barossa branch that that helps us. In fact, they give us 14 people to operate the bar. Moving on, hirings on the next couple of pages. Hiring is actually becoming a relatively fast-growing part of the Harness Racing Club's facility, income streams at the facility, and we've been double booked a number of times because we can. We actually have probably 3 significant hiring areas, and it gives us a way of getting value for what we have there. The actual hireable areas that we have, I'd hate to think what it would cost to build them today, but they're there now, and so we're getting value for it by hiring it out. Here's some of the ones that are coming up. The swap meet, obviously, we've got a motorhome event coming up, SA Endurance Riders, et cetera, leading through to the rodeo, and there'll be others undoubtedly in between times. Sponsors, it's coming out a little bit small print there, but the logos are more easily visual. We have great sponsors. This year we gave them in their package both the Rodeo and the Kapunda Cup. So we have some great local sponsors there that we know, but we've also got the likes of Ridley Agri Products, Alltech Lena, Perry's, that are statewide organisations sponsoring our Kapunda event. In addition, Pirate Life Brewing, which is based in Port Adelaide, the Kapunda Rodeo was the first event they'd ever sponsored outside of a metropolitan area anywhere. So that was a little bit of a feather in the cap there. Feedback indicates that nearly all, if not definitely all, of these sponsors will be back on board in our next sponsorship drive. One of the bonuses, and this is relevant for councillors and the council area, is the ABC Australia Story documentary series did a episode on Megan McLaughlin, who has local connections also, but she's legally blind and was competing in barrel racing at Kapunda Rodeo just gone. The subcommittee provided every assistance that we could to facilitate the ABC crew to get in there, take the action footage, because there are protocols around that, and thereby put Kapunda Rodeo on national television. That was a nice one. That was just a little bit of a bonus, to be honest. Some of the numbers, again, these are probably coming out a little bit skinny, but the Facebook page can garner up to 10 to 11,000 engagements on a post. It has huge capture, and again, highlighting the event itself. One of the most important ones on the bottom right there, again, it's a little bit hard to see in the ticket sales there, nearly 2,700 of the 4,000 tickets sold, sorry, 2,600 of the 4,000 tickets sold were from the greater metro area. I was really surprised about that. I would have expected probably more of a balance through country postcodes. So again, the area is being exposed to the metro area. There's a drone pic the ABC gave to us of the event as it was building. Believe it or not, this is actually still relatively early on in proceedings. And in the blow up there, I think you can see the crowd without too much trouble, but very, very impressive. The committee, so the Harness Racing Club is the convener of the Rodeo, but we have a subcommittee that actions it. And the subcommittee does have a good deal of autonomy, but the Harness Racing Club has the constitution and provides the oversight. And also we have at least three generally committee people on the Harness Racing, on the Rodeo subcommittee. And that just gives that oversight and allows for a fluid exchange of information between the two groups, so things get actioned quite quickly. So just to summarise, we're always updating procedures, processes, etc. For all of the club's event, but particularly the Rodeo because of its sheer size. We acknowledge we have to keep pace with contemporary patron expectations. In addition, we look for not just continuity of our events, and let's be clear, the Rodeo is the star of them, but also growth and sustainability within them. The events and the growing hiring, in fact, allow us to maintain and improve what is actually quite an old facility. They first raced there in 1945, late 1945. Indeed, we just actually got quotes for anyone who's been over there. The terracing, I don't know when it went down, it was before my time, and I've been on the committee for 30 years. The terracing has become dilapidated. The concrete is wearing away, and we've recently got quotes to either take it out and create a fenced lawn area or put over decking. Either way, we're looking at something 40,000 plus. So these are the things we need to do because it's becoming a safety issue, and this is what the events allow us to do. It's also the intent of the club to get a DVN link into the facility to obviate the need for an outside broadcast van at $8,500 a day to come to us on race days and improve the track configuration because horses effectively are going too fast for our old track now. These things will allow us to rebuild our racing numbers because the committee acknowledges that we need more race meetings to validate ourselves as a harness racing club. We run more other things than we do harness racing. And overall, of course, the committee absolutely appreciates the council's support, both financially and administratively, to our events. We've got a lot of support from within council administration in events, because obviously it gets a bit trickier these days. And we believe that through the events, we're giving the council, or the council region, sorry, a bit of bang for buck for their support for us. So we're not looking for any further support. We're not here looking for money or anything like that, because council supports us very well. But we need to then turn that around and give bang for buck to the council for what they give to us. And I think we've shown through the rodeo there as to what we can do. And basically, I just hope the councillors feel encouraged and informed by the little bit we've shown you here, and it makes it easier should anything come up around either the rodeo or the harness racing club in the future, to just understand a little bit more about what we're about. So thank you for that. Happy to take questions.
Councillors, any questions, Steve? I think you might have answered them, Steve.
I'll
I
ask one
hope,
question, and this could be perhaps a rhetorical question because I may already know the answer. But say, taking last year's example of the rodeo, you listed all the service clubs that obviously the rodeo they I guess offer time to support as volunteers, so to speak. How much in terms of dollars does the rodeo return back to these not-for-profits?
So basically, any community group which helps us on the day, so as I mentioned there, the Show Society, effectively we give them the facility for the Kapunda show for free. What they give us is 6 to 8 people to help us run the rodeo or the swap meet. So it might be on the gates or things like that. Effectively, so that whatever the higher fee we would determine in that particular case is what they get. One thing we do know, so let's go on to the Light Archers, Uniting Care, Udunda CFS, and there's Canine Capabilities. The people they give us are worth far more than any dollars that we would get from them. So we give them the facility for nothing. And so in the case of Udunda CFS, they don't do anything there per se. They did do our parking, didn't they? And then we might most generally would give $100 per person that they would send over on the day. So you send as many, if you want to send 8 people, you get $800. Again, that's easy to do, hard to get people normally. But if you're going to do something for your club, people say, yeah, I'll be in there. So to quantify the actual numbers, Fab, I guess it's different for different organisations, but every organisation benefits by helping us. Yeah.
Further questions, councillors? If not, anything further, Michelle? No? I'd like to sincerely thank you and your committee for what you've done in the history of this town, and to make what you do a perfect fit for its history as well, with the Sir Sidney Kidman bit and everything else. It's a perfect fit having a rodeo here, and to the standard that you've raised that event to be now is really a great credit to you. And it's great to see we've got a councillor on your committee as well. And we've got Steve Pearson, who's the official starter of all the racing events in South Australia and at Morfordfield and so forth. So you've got some very fine people here that know what they're talking about. And I think 4,000 people at one event in a small town of this size is big. It's bigger than the population. And my understanding in talking around, that there was one caution provided by the police, nothing further.
To give you an idea, the previous year we had 2,700 people in 2021, which was a horrible, horrible day. I don't know whether people remember, it was torrential rain. Yeah. We still had 2,700 paying people, but I think we did have 12 evictions. And then the year just gone, we had 4,000 paying people and had 3 evictions. And the behaviour in the car park was significantly better also due to some processes we put in place.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with the management and how the events coordinated and run. And there's a great credit to your committee.
Thank you very
And
much.
to the harness racing too also. It's lovely to see, even though, harness racing is kicking against the breeze at present, but it'll come back. I can recall going to the trots over there with Peter Lehman many thousand years ago when I was a kid. And on a Tuesday night under lights, it was packed,
Yes.
absolutely jam-packed.
Yep.
And those days may come again, but we've got to get the lights back.
Yes, look, don't start me on that, but certainly harness racing is currently rebounding. For anyone who would just put like a little bit of background, I won't go over time, but harness racing in South Australia is definitely rebounding. They've had dual stake increases over the last 14 months, 2 stake increases. So,
Great to hear.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
councillors.
so much,
Yep.
Michelle. And did you have a question,
I
councillor?
just more of a comment for the council, through yourself, Mayor Bill. When we did meet with Anthony and Steve, who were fantastic support for us, we had a debrief with them shortly thereafter last year's Rodeo, and there was a real appetite shown both from the committee and from the council representatives there to try and expand the event, so it's not just a afternoon/nighttime event, but to make it a weekend long event, not necessarily the Rodeo element, but to certainly try and work in with other service groups and operators around town to try and make it a weekend long event that draws people in. And obviously we've got the crowd coming up from Adelaide and things like that, from Farafield right through from Queensland and places like that. So if we can get them to stay the weekend, possibly even a week, I think it would certainly benefit the greater community as well.
Thank you so much, Councillor Fabio. And thanks again, Steve. Thanks, Michelle. Councillors, we'll move on. We move into a section now called adjourned business. You may recall at our last confidential meeting of council, we had some adjourned business that we were going to carry forward. Well, that's in relation to the Drovers Encounter project. So that's on our item 7.1 on our agenda now. So in order for that to happen under section 90 of the Local Government Act, I'll have to ask all of our audience to leave for a certain time while this matter is resolved. So if I could ask everyone to just leave the room who is not on the council or taking their minutes, they can leave the room for now. But you're certainly welcome back, and hopefully we're not going to be too long. Councillors, now under section 90 of the Local Government Act, we're in confidential. Could I have someone move that we move into confidential? Actually, first Councillor Lynn, someone like to second that. Councillor Bill, all those in favour? Those, yes, that's carried. And on page 8, any questions on page 8, councillors? Page 9. Page 10. The other folk, if they're still out, they're able to come back in, by the way. Did they choose not to? Okay. Might get hit by a car. Page 11. Okay, page
Sorry, can I
Councillor
just ask page 10 at the top, this is for Megan, just the College Road remedial strategy. So any more? I see that it's now jumped to March. I thought that was coming up in this one. No, we're still waiting on that. Sorry, Megan. Richard's answered that, so that's fine.
Hang on that. We're up to item 9, councillors now then, recommendations from the committee. The first one being the Audit and Risk Committee. And the first recommendation is that the agenda reports and minutes of the meeting of the Light Regional Council Audit and Risk Committee meeting held Tuesday the 13th of February 2024 be received. Thanks, Councillor Fabio. Someone like to second that? Thanks, Councillor Simon. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried. Councillors, are there any items you would like to have withdrawn from that meeting? There was 2 items. If not, the second Councillor Collins?
I just had a couple of questions. I haven't got it in front of me though, the Audit and Risk Committee items but it was, one was just about the yearly deficit. And the other one was about the bridge. I know Michael asked in the Audit and Risk Committee, but the amount of money we've spent so far was 266,000, I think, wasn't it? But I'm just wondering what we've got for that. I know it was a consultancy, but is there anything carried forward from that? Like, do we use any of the information that we did get, or is it just we just write that off because a bridge from the river? Yeah, or down with the money down the river.
Thanks, Lee.
Through the chair, Councillor Collin, I can actually give you a bit more of a detailed breakdown. Majority of that is for the consultants for the work they did pre-collapse. But when you look at the itemised like breakdown from that consultant, we actually didn't spend everything with those consultants for that work. I think they'd also started to do some support structure work as well to support the existing bridge while they're going to build the new one. It's water under the bridge.
Basically, the 266 is just that's just a write-off now. That's pretty well forgotten about. But the other thing I noticed in the works budget, we were 1.1 over budget to the 6 months. I know Grey Street was one of the big proponents, and also 100 grand, I think, from memory, was the tyres and rubbish collection. The question I have is, how's that going to affect the next 6 months? Is it going to affect works, or are we going to have to go short for the year, for the complete year, now that we've overspent a bit?
Through the chair, so the capital works program or the projects report that's coming up in March will actually detail all the projects, and it will provide a bit more information about the reconciliation of the programs that we have. For example, an individual road was identified at the Audit and Risk Committee. That's a resheeted road, but that's part of a program. So we'll be presenting all of that information. It is likely that we have to look at what we've done and what we've got coming up, and there'll be some decisions for the elected members to make in March.
Other question I had was, I think it was 1.4 in depreciation, wasn't it? So how do we deal with that in this current year? So that, because that wasn't allocated. So I think it was it 7 million in 5 years or something, and then 1.4 this year. Is that, so how do we deal with that? Is that going to make the budget out by another 1.4 at the end of the financial year?
The simple answer is it will increase the deficit for the year. The depreciation is obviously a non-cash item, but the main signal that it's sending is that we need to increase the amount that we're spending on the renewal of assets. So that's going to be taken into account in terms of long-term financial plan. So you would have seen at the briefing we'd already upped the replacement of assets by a significant amount in that first draft. But in terms of that 1 year for this year of that depreciation impact, it's something that we just have to wear in an accounting sense.
Thank you, Nigel. Further questions, councillors? If not, I have a recommendation somewhere. And Is there a recommendation? Yeah. That the recommendation 2 is that the reports and recommendation of the meeting of the Light Regional Council Audit and Risk Committee, meeting held Tuesday, 3rd of February 2024, numbered 1 and 2, as listed below, be adopted. Someone like to move that way? Councillor Fabio, someone like to second that? It's adopting the 2 recommendations are in our agenda. Thank you, Councillor Dean. Any further questions, councillors? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried. Thank you, councillors. There's nothing under infrastructure and sustainability this month. We move straight on to our strategy and economic development reports, section 11. And I must commend both Craig and Kyron for this particular report and the way it's prepared and laid out. I know Kyron's got some other ideas to perhaps refine it even further, but I think all of us can see that it's very well considered. There's a lot of work being put into that, and it's bringing us up to date on many, many matters. But I'll certainly open it up for questions and comments, councillors. Are there any questions in relation to this particular report? If not, would someone like to move a motion that we accept this report? Would you like to speak on that motion, Councillor Simon?
No, thanks.
Would someone like to second this? Councillor Fabio, like to speak on that, Councillor Fabio? Any further comments or questions?
Just one
Councillor Bill?
previous Mick. Page 18, met with the battery energy storage scheme developer. Is this the fellow that came and spoke to us, or is this something different? And is it still confidential, or what was that about?
Yeah, through the chair. I expect this was a different company. So there's 2 batteries being explored at the Templars substation site or thereabouts. And so I think I get a bit confused when I talk about these, because there's been change in ownership of who's seeking to build batteries on the sites. But it's definitely a different group than what council has received a deputation from previously. That being said, we will expect that there will be a deputation coming in the coming months to the council. So the subject of the meeting was mainly around how are they best to engage with the community and explore benefit sharing opportunities.
Just through the chair, Councillor Collins.
Through the chair, so Res, the one that presented here, that was Res who were doing the wind farm. They sold that first one, and the people that made that deputation here had bought it from Res. So they unsold it again, have they? Or it's another mob?
Yeah, through the chair, as Kyron said, there's 2 different companies, and I think you're partly right. I'm not sure that who we met with on the 17th bought it off Res. Someone else has bought it off Res. Who came to us wasn't the people who bought it off Res, from memory. So there's two companies who have taken options out over different primary production land in the area. And both of the companies, we have certainly said to them, if they would like to present to council, we've given them all the access to the deputation forms, and we think it would be a good thing for them to do ahead of lodging their, I don't think they've lodged development applications, no, but I think they have engaged with the planning team. Yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Collins. Thanks, Kyron. Anything further? Councillor Collins?
I just got another, I just see about recycled water, and you met with Susan Close or someone. Is that got anything to do with the Bunyip 2, or it's on the bottom of page 23.
Across a new water infrastructure, that's the one?
Yeah, through the chair. So there's no further update from the December 2023 meeting. So that's sort of the first comment there. So there hasn't been much activity that we're aware of in that space. This is separate to Bunyip Water, so this is I guess a state-led project bringing in sort of bulk recycled water to the Barossa Valley. So there's been a detailed business case prepared that's resting with government at the moment. We understand they're exploring how they may implement that in partnership with multiple stakeholders. So we're aware that they have reached out to Bunyip Water to explore what opportunities for using the Bunyip Water network there might be moving forward, as they have done with Barossa Infrastructure Limited and SA Water. I guess that's all we can that's all we're aware of at this point in time.
Thank you, Karen. Further questions, councillors? If not, there's a recommendation on the bottom of page 23. The council receives the strategy and economic development reports and the contents herein be noted. We've got a mover and seconder for that. Any further comments or questions, councillors? And if not, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Those against, that's carried. Thank you, councillors. Moving on now to reports for information. This is where I usually get myself in a little bit of strife. Just a little bit. Well, hopefully we won't have too much discussion surrounding these, but if someone would like to move a motion, of course, or ask a question, we'll accept that also. The first one is the upgrade of Noack Road, and I thank Jason Norman, our operations manager, for an excellent report, and he's been very diligent in all of this, and I think there's an outcome at the end of it. Any questions, councillors, in relation to this matter? Any questions? The second matter is the short stay accommodation, which was certainly a very interesting resolution to begin with. Any questions in relation to this report? And again, quite detailed, and it really gives us a far greater understanding than probably most of us knew. So thank you for that, Sky, and we really appreciate the work that you put into preparing this report. Questions? Questions? We move on to the next one. There's a response to a motion on notice at council-owned land at Dutton Park. Now, this is a really major question, and something that's probably going to be on our agenda for, I'd say, quite some time in seeing how we ultimately develop a master plan for our sporting facilities, not just in Kapunda, of course, but across our region. But this is a good starting point. An excellent report. Are there any questions, councillors? Bearing in mind that there'll be further reports in the future. Councillor Collin?
Can I move a motion on this, please?
Certainly.
I actually haven't read it, but in full, I gave Carrie and Kyron a bit of a rough idea of what I was suggesting or what I'd like to put in it. So if you could if we could bring it up, see what everyone thinks.
Can everyone read that clearly, councillors? Mr. McGill here is struggling a bit. But that would be easy, of course it would. I'm not that smart.
You're saying appoint a councillor rather than a representative.
Yeah, through the chair. So I sort of understood the intent was to really table a matter of master planning with the stakeholders and gauge their interest in further consultation on that, really just to start a process. Obviously, the administration can do that and bring a report back to the council, but I felt that there's probably a view that elected members might want to have some representation at that meeting. Hence, point 2 was to appoint some elected members that might want to attend that meeting as well.
Could I nominate Dean, if he'd be willing to do it? Because I think Fabio is on the harness club on Dutton Park. Dean is a Dutton board member, and I think he's got a strong understanding of what is going on, and if he's willing to sit on that.
I am willing to do that and have attended meetings with some of the groups in the past and happy to do that at a time that's convenient. That I can attend that, I should say.
Thanks very much, Councillor Dean. It's kind of you to do that. This is a very important topic, and if we get some real response to this and get some movement in the camp, it'd be good.
Yeah, I'd like to move that motion.
I'll second that.
Have a mover and a second. Have you like to speak to that, Colin?
Yeah, I would.
Councillor
The
Collins.
reason I'd like to get the stakeholders together before the administration gets involved is nothing against the administration. It's just that we've got, as we saw, Steve is very passionate and he defends defends his patch pretty well, as the golf club does and Dutton Park. So it'd be good for us all to sit or get the three people or the three parties together, nut it out, and actually come have it community driven. Because if we can't agree on the principle to even discuss it, it's no point going through getting contracted, getting a consultant in, doing the whole master plan, and then it all turns into a cat fight later. So I just think we're going to be very open with all stakeholders, get them down, have a chat, and Karen or whoever the representative will be from the administration will take notes, and then we can really go with a strong direction on the way we want to go. That's so that was the motivation for the warrant.
Thanks, Councillor Colin. Councillor Fabio?
I'll just speak on it as a seconder. Obviously, there's a real appetite, not only within our own council area, but also further afield, for certain segments of recreation sporting that are exponentially growing, and use women's football as a key example, but not limited to just that. And we've really got the opportunity now to showcase our facility to the broader region, and at a state level as well. If we had facilities that would accommodate it and met the standards that the SANFL, etc., and even AFL, decree of the to be able to hold a match, and certainly. There's been some great work over there with the establishment of the women's change rooms, and I think to have a separate oval would probably be the next logical step. Acknowledging the fact that yes, I'm a member of the Harness Racing Club and the Rodeo Committee, but it's certainly been discussed in the past about the potential for the football club to expand and place an oval on the infield, which of the harness racing track, which has certainly been met with support from the Harness Racing Club, but it would be obviously with some sort of collaborative effort, and at some stage would require some sort of council investment, whether it be time, money, or whatever, to facilitate that move. So I think that would be a definite positive step in the right direction.
Thanks very much, Fabio. Any further questions, or would anyone like to ask any questions or move anything from here? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And thank you, councillors, and thank you, Councillor Collin, for raising that matter. 12.4 is our CEO's monthly report. Pretty well self-explanatory. You've been a busy CEO, as usual. Any questions in relation to this particular report? If not, We do have a recommendation right down the bottom of page 38 that the reports for information be received and the contents herein be noted by council. Someone like to move that way, Councillor Annette? Someone like to second that? Councillor Fabio, would you like to speak on that, Councillor Annette? Councillor Fabio, no? Any further comments, councillors? If not, Councillor Dean?
Mayor Bill, did we miss one? The CEO's report?
We just sort of did that and breezed over it. But if there are any questions in relation to it, I'll certainly take them. Would you like to ask a question in relation to it? No. Right. All right, I've got a mover and a seconder for the recommendations in relation to the reports for information. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. Now we move on to reports for decision, and this one's a big one, Kynan. Thank you. You put a lot of work into this. This is a statewide bushfire hazards code amendment. Whew, gee, you planners, you earned your keep, that's for sure. Council, there's a recommendation about halfway down page 39. Councillor Simon?
I'm happy to move that.
Happy to move that. Would someone like to second
Yeah,
the motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that. Can I just congratulate you on a huge effort? So very, very explicit and colourful presentation too. Thanks very much.
Councillor Simon, would you like to speak to your motion?
I just want to repeat what Councillor Bill Close said, so I totally agree with that.
Yeah, thanks so much for that, Councillor. Councillor Collin, anything you'd like to say?
This is it's just been written for our benefit, or we have to do this for legislation or for purposes.
Thank you, Kynan.
Through the chair, the State Commission Assessment Panel initiated this code amendment back in 2021, given on the basis of updated hazard, the effects of grass fires, and particularly what was seen in the Pinery Fire. They've taken that knowledge and updated potential risk for grassland fires in our area, and they're looking to update that. So we're seeking to provide comments back to the state government as to what we think is appropriate, where we think there needs to be some tweaking of what they're doing, but potentially where whole-scale mapping needs to be changed as well. That's the purpose of this response to the state government.
Thank you, Con.
They won't have to do one.
Well, thank you, councillors. We've got a mover and a seconder. We've had questions, and we've had a presentation from Con, and we thank you for that, for your overview of your report. Any further questions, councillors, or comments? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. And thank you once again, Con. An excellent report. Our next is 13.2. Again, Con, draft Barossa Growth and Infrastructure Investment Strategy. Councillors, is probably something we need to know about because it'll affect us in the long term. In the short term, I'm not sure, but it's certainly information that we need to get our head around at some point in time. Although it is the Barossa's investment strategy, not ours at this point. Do we have any questions, councillors? If not, do we have someone like to move the motion that's on page 50, the recommendation, pardon me, on page 50, Councillor Dean and Councillor Fabio. Councillor Dean, would you like to speak to your recommendation? No? Councillor Fabio? No?
Just another fantastic report by Kynan. Set the bar pretty high, mate.
Yeah, it is. It's a great report, and it's probably given us more knowledge about what's happening in the Barossa than we've probably ever had before. So we're getting to know what our neighbours are doing over there, and I guess it won't be before time when we would probably be doing something similar ourselves with this council. But they've certainly put the cat amongst the pigeons with a few of the comments they've raised. Councillors, we move now to 13. I'll put the recommendation. Sorry, councillors. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. We move on to 13.3, the policy update, and this is one that will really please Councillor Collin, the car parking fund policy. We have a recommendation somewhere here, if I can recall. We do indeed, on page 63. Do we have any questions or comments, councillors, in relation to this report or this policy update? Councillor Fabio?
Just a comment. I attended the KBA meeting last night. This came up and it was a very positive, reaction or feedback to the proposal. I thought it was a great step forward that the council's taking in regards to revitalising the main street and attracting new business and into the area. KBA are about to rebrand themselves very shortly, and this will certainly bolster their hopes, I guess, of trying to attract new talent into the main street. So thank you.
Oh, thanks, Councillor Fabio. Thanks for attending that meeting too. It's important we have representation on these occasions. So I'll have someone to move that motion, have I? Councillor Fabio? Councillor Collin, would you like to? Sure.
So I was just reading the fund, and I noticed it said the rate contribution will be reviewed biannually to reflect changing land components, car park construction costs in the designated area. So I'm wondering, that's on 5.4. Why couldn't we use that instead of having to do what we've done? Because I thought we were told that $3,750 was non-negotiable, but it says here it's biannually reviewed. So was that reviewed by someone, not us? That's not us.
Through the chair, I'd need to check the actual policy myself. Craig authored this particular report, but rightio.
We were told it was non-negotiable. That quite saved us a bit of time. Should have done that. Just reviewed it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take that one on notice, I think.
Yeah, I think we will take it on notice. I think in terms of this particular fund is legislated, which doesn't give us the opportunity to change it. That was the difference.
We've changed the thing. So the thing actually says we can change it.
This fund is embedded in the, sorry, I said legislation, in the regulations.
Yeah, but if you read what that says and then you go down and see what we've done, we're doing a rebate. So we're putting in more. We could have just changed the amount.
This particular policy relates to the whole of council and would have been, the cash contribution would have been dealt with to ensure that there was consistency across council, where another area of council is actually have a regulation that overlays it. Because, I mean, specifically, we've made this change for Kapunda Main Street. Kapunda Main Street, the contribution.
Yeah, but it does say in the designated area, so you could just designate an area.
We can't override the legislation. I think we've really gone into this in a lot of detail, and I trust the work that Craig has done and the mechanism that we're using to reduce the car parking contribution by any developer in Kapunda, specifically Kapunda. I think we've made the right decision here.
Councillor Fabio? Move the motion. Thanks, Councillor Fabio. Would someone like to second this motion? Thanks, Councillor Collin. Would you like to speak on that, Councillor Fabio? Councillor Collin? Or you already have? Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you. Well, we've come a long way with that, Councillor Collin, from that very first question you asked many meetings ago. So I guess we can see we've got some progress. Yeah, it would be. Yeah, well done. Perseverance, they call it. Councillors, we move on now to 13.4, and thank you, Carrie, for this particular report on policy framework. And there's a recommendation there about a third of the way down page 64. Councillors, are there any questions or comments in relation to this report? It's been very well put together, and it adds to our portfolio of reports and policies that we have to adhere to and develop. So if there's no questions or comments, I'll put the recommendation. Oh, pardon me, I'll ask for a mover of the recommendation.
Mr. Mayor, I'll move the recommendation. My vocabulary increased dramatically in reading this report. I had to check my grammar and the placements of words. It was really quite an education. Thanks, Kerry. I think I understood it at the end. I'm not sure though, I think.
Councillor Bill, this is policy speak. Councillor, we have a mover of that recommendation, and Councillor Bill has spoken to his recommendation, to his motion. Would someone like to second this? Councillor Simon, would you like to speak to your motion? No. If not, any further questions? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour, those against, that's carried. Thank you, councillors. Getting into our operational matters. It's this one. This is the legal advice that we sought from our lawyers, Norman Waterhouse. Are there any questions in relation to this particular report, councillors? There's a recommendation about 3/4 of the way down page 67, if someone would like to move that way. Councillor Collin and Councillor Lynn. Would you like to speak on this, Councillor Collin?
I just thought it was a good report. I personally think that we're doing pretty well what he says. So I was quite happy with his legal advice. Some of his opinions, I weren't too sure whether we paid him for that, but anyway, I thought it was good.
Yeah, Councillor Lynn. I think what it clearly outlines is the line in the sand between operational matters and council's responsibilities in that regard, and we do have to be mindful of that. That there is a separation of powers without question of that. That's been made quite clear in there, and we need to be very careful that sometimes we don't walk over that line. However, we've got the information there, and we're all privy to that, and we just need to apply ourselves to ensuring that we understand it. If there's no further questions or comments, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried, councillors. 13.6, boundary reform spokesperson. It's a recommendation about halfway down the page. Would someone like to move that recommendation or a different recommendation? Councillor Peter, you'd like to move the recommendation? Would someone like to second that? Councillor Collin, would you like to speak to your recommendation, Councillor Peter? Councillor Collin, like to speak to this?
I just like, yeah, I think Michael will be a good representative council, and he's as it's explained, he's got a strong grasp of what's going on, and I think he'll be a good representative of council, and it's good to have a councillor who can speak well, so it's good that he can do it.
Any comments or questions, councillors?
I have a question, Mayor Bill, which I'll just make a comment first so the question makes sense. When the surveying of people is done by the Boundaries Commission, it'd be good if, when they are surveyed, the people, that they actually have some accurate information as to the impact. and that won't be provided by the Boundary Commission, I don't suppose. I think there's obligation by us to provide some of that. I'm not talking about scare tactic stuff, but accurate information that might be able to be provided. And the question is that something that Councillor Michael would be involved in, and should there be a wider dissemination of that rather than just one councillor, if that is the case? So my comment doesn't necessarily have to be agreed by everyone, but from my observation of things in the past and my previous experience, you get a lot better outcome if people are informed.
Thanks, Councillor Dean. Any further comments, councillors? Yeah, actually, Richard would like to respond to that question, comment. Thank you, Councillor Dean.
Yeah, through the chair. I think there'll be a number of people from administration who are involved in the boundary information, and definitely will be supporting all elected members at the time in making sure the right information gets out to the community. I think that will be definitely important for us to do.
Councillor Bill.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to speak against this motion. In the elections, you're voted as mayor, and the mayor is a spokesman for the council, and the mayor is the one that the meeting will come to ask this. It looks unusual to have another spokesman. I'm not denying Councillor Michael's very much on the ball with this thing, but it also, if he's the council spokesman, he actually is quiet. He can't speak the way he may want to speak, because he's got to speak the council's, our point of view, not his point of view. So in actually, by making him spokesman, we're shutting him up. And I think that it's the wrong thing to do, not to have the mayor as a spokesman anyway, because he's the one that people will turn to. We'll look a bit of a sham council if we don't have the mayor as our spokesman. You wouldn't see Mayor Redmond not face the ball when it's talking about boundary things. And I think our mayor should be the spokesman. And I think that lets Michael get out and flay the whip if he wants to.
Thanks, Councillor. Any further questions or comments? Thanks, Councillor Dean.
My question is, has Michael been, Councillor Michael been consulting on this, and is he keen on the idea?
Yes, Michael has been, and yeah, he's comfortable with it.
Yeah, I guess, this is probably about me. So I don't know if I'm out of order or not, but I'd like to comment. When I first came across this, I didn't have a real concern with it, but I do now. And I think Councillor Bill's hit the nail on the head. The people elected the mayor is a spokesperson for the council, irrespective if it's a triple murder, boundary reform, or a decision that's been made by this council. The mayor is a spokesperson for the council. This sends out a very different message. It sends out a message to the media that something could be going on here. Why isn't the mayor the spokesperson? The media are going to go to that spokesperson, the mayor, anyway, like Councillor Bill said. That's what they're going to do. They're not going to read our minutes and find out some other councillor and know who's this fellow. They're not going to do that. So I don't think we're doing ourselves a great service. And that's no reflection on Michael, not at all. I think he's excellent in what he does. And it's not stopping him either from making comment in the newspaper or anywhere else, providing he puts on as a rider, it's his view. And he does that very, very, very well. I have no issue with that. But I don't think that we should be sending out a mixed message to the media and to our region, to our residents, that the mayor is no longer the spokesperson in boundary reform. They're going to get hold of that and have a field day. I've been spokesperson in relation to boundary reform from the very first day. I understand the issues involved, having been there from day one. That's May about 3 years ago or more now. And I just feel a little bit disappointed that I wouldn't be able to continue that journey. So I'll just leave that with you, but I'll accept the decision of the council, of course. But probably a little reluctantly. But that's all I really have to say. Councillor Simon?
Can I ask a couple of questions? One is if Councillor Michael ends up being the spokesperson, does that make you not being able to speak about it? That's the number one question. The second question would be if Councillor Michael would be the spokesperson, could he still comment on it not as a spokesperson? So could he still write a letter to the editor and say, this is just my personal opinion? If he is the spokesperson, I mean.
If he's a spokesperson, I think he would be harnessing himself very, very, very badly. As a spokesperson, it's not his opinion anymore. It's the spokesperson. It's the opinion of the council, not of the individual councillor. So he would restrict himself from having that freedom to make those comments as Councillor Michael Phillips-Ryder and his own view. So he would lose that opportunity. Yes. Any further comment, question?
Yes. I agree with what Councillor Close has said. And I think it makes common sense that you remain the spokesperson. You are the media spokesperson anyhow. And I think that what the comments that Councillor Close has said is exactly right. And I support that. So I don't support the motion.
Thanks. Thank you so much for that. Councillors, any further questions or comments? Councillor Dean?
I think that some excellent points have been made there. However, Councillor Michael does have some good ideas on this, and the way around this may be to invite him to provide his ideas of points that you might raise publicly as the official spokesperson of council, rather than have him doing it, because I do believe there is it muddies the waters if you've got two spokespersons, and you as mayor have every right to speak on that topic. But if it's fed through you, then that avoids that confusion. And we don't necessarily need a motion to do that. It could be an internal arrangement.
Thank you, Councillor Dean. Anything further, Councillor Fabio?
Just finally, I acknowledge the fact that Councillor Michael is very well versed on this topic. And to be honest, I was going in initially with a closed mind, and thank you, Councillor Close, for opening up my mind to that. The other thing, as much as I say, Councillor Phillips-Ryder is an exceptional advocate for this. We can't look past the experience and the knowledge of the other councillors that are within the Muddler-Wirra ward, which would be the ones most affected by this. So I think if we're going to involve Councillor Michael as an advocate, I think it would only be fair that we also invite Councillor Emery and Councillor Close into those discussions as well.
Yeah, I don't think anyone, thank you, Councillor Harvey. I don't think we're going to exclude anyone from this particular conversation. I think if we've got people who've got something to add to our armoury, let's do it. And once the community consultation takes place, it'll take place across the whole of our council region. But I do acknowledge that we must rely fairly heavily on our Muddler-Wirra councillors to get the message through Muddler-Wirra down there, in particular because of Hewitt being involved and to be on side. And I don't think that sort of goes without saying, I would think. But I'm just concerned about getting a mixed message out there, and the media, I think, in fair comment, are probably going to come to the mayor anyway. That would be a fairly logical thing for someone working for a newspaper to do, or for a radio station or whatever. They're not going to know who we've chosen. They're just going to go where they think they're going to get get a
Miss-
response.
I was just going to say,
I'll put the motion, councillors. All those in favour? Excuse me? All those in favour of appointing councillor Phyllis Ryder as council's primary spokesman with regard to bank reform? All those against? The motion's lost. Thank you so much, councillors, for your support. I really do appreciate that, and sincerely, I do. It means a fair bit to me. All right, councillors, let's move on to our next matter, which is probably equally as important. This is the.
Mayor Bill, can I just ask a question, sort of like a point of order, but councillor Michael wasn't here to hear that discussion, but I think it would be useful for him to know what the discussion, what a main point of discussion was, because we weren't rejecting him or his expertise, but we're looking at a broader picture, and it would be useful if you, as the mayor, spoke to him about that.
I'll contact him and talk with him. Absolutely. I've got a great respect for Councillor Michael and his abilities and his positioning down there in Hewitt. I'll be needing him to give me that information that I'm going to need to, present to someone else. No, that will go without saying. I'll do that first thing on Monday morning. I'll ring him and have a chat. Oh, I could do it tomorrow, couldn't I? What's today? Tuesday? Oh, Wednesday morning I meant. Oh, I got confused. This is a great report too. Again, the heavy vehicle safety productivity program funding deeds. I think we've got a whole lot of money here to thank someone for. Any comments or questions, councillors, in relation to this? Great stuff, Megan, and your team. There's a recommendation about a third of the way down page 73. Councillor Fabio and Councillor Lynn. Any questions, councillors? Like to speak to your motion? Like to speak to second yours, Councillor Lynn? No? If not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? That's carried. Thank you, councillors, and well done. It's a lot of money, a lot of roads. This is another one that's been very well researched and presented. Thank you, Andrew. This is the greenhouse gas emissions profile for Light Regional Council 13.8. Great report. It's a little bit above my pay grade, I think, but there's a lot of information there and it's all very valuable, and it's providing some direction for us. Councillors, are there any questions in relation to this? Councillor Bill? Oh, sorry. Oh, I was getting anxious there. Councillor Simon.
I just want to make a comment. It's an excellent report, and I think it's an important thing that we need to do. It's just one thing that I wanted to point out, that you always hear that Australia is only a small emitter, and it says in here as well, less than 1% of global emissions. But I think that's a misleading statement, and you see this all the time in the media. Oh, we only emit this little bit, we only emit this little bit. But the point that needs to be made, and that's the only point that counts, is how much do we emit per capita. And per capita emission, Australians are number 10 on the list, behind such great places like Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Brunei, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Oman. So that tells us very simply where we actually stand in the world. So saying that we only put out 1% is just misleading. The only thing that matters is how much CO2 as greenhouse gas emissions we emit per capita and living standard, and we're really, really bad at that compared to the rest of the world. China is about a third of what we do, or even less, a quarter, I think so.
Thank you, Councillor Simon. Any further questions or comments? If not, there's a
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I'd like Andrew to take the floor if you would. I want to pretend I'm a very sceptical elected member, and I looked at this and I saw big spending on our council if we're going to take it on. But I'd like Andrew to argue why I should be swayed to spend 300,000, was it 380,000 for a year, was it? So, given Nigel's here putting a pin in my back, I'm a bit concerned.
That's a fair question. Thank you, Andrew.
Through the chair, you've got 2 pins in your shoulder, I believe. That's right. One in the back we'll go with. Look, it is, I think if you went around the room, there'd be a very broad church of opinions about, you know, the value of this report and what it tries to achieve. It's a difficult one because I guess the report says to offset the emissions that we produce, 4,400 tonnes per year, you pay a fee of $260,000 annually, which you may be hard pressed to sell to your ratepayers, or you revegetate an area of some 900 hectares. Now, I've been looking after Pengelly Scrub for the last 30 years. That's 20 hectares. I know how much work's involved in 20 hectare patch. So yeah, these are considerable challenges. But ultimately, if you, and again, we may disagree, if you believe in the science of climate change and the science of greenhouse gas emissions and what it's doing to our planet, then, and that's where the rub comes, I guess, Councillor Bill. That is the great challenge, isn't it, going forward? A little fun fact, the Rolling Stones private jet, which is a big jet, has got a higher emissions profile than Light Regional Council. They're just over 5,000 tonnes. So, you know, an ageing band of rockers can produce that much CO2. So we are clearly, as I think Councillor Simon pointed out, that, you know, we're in the top 10 emitting countries in the world per capita. And I think it's probably for all of us to look at that and what we can achieve through that, what we can reduce through that, our lifestyle choices. So I guess my response through the chair would be, why wouldn't we do it? I guess.
Have questions, councillors, or comments?
Well, I've just got a comment. I mean, we look at these wonderful new subdivisions we've got with black roofs and closed walls and all requiring air conditioning without any other form of cooling. So it's a massive drain on our thing. So I mean, somehow or other we need to be stronger in our development controls on that sort of housing development, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor Bill. It's certainly a subject that's going to be more and more on our agenda as years go by. There's no doubt about that. Councillor Collins?
Just on that, the planning minister has actually just said that you can't use grey roofing anymore. And they're going to make it, they're going to have to change the colour. But that's, I think there's a big opportunity in the broadacre farming market actually to get deep carbon into the soil. And I think that's going to be a big opportunity. And I think trees are one way, but I think, so if you've got scrub, they don't actually, you know, like Pengelly Scrub, that's carbon neutral. That's a growing. So you go and plant 900 hectares of trees, get a pinery fire, the whole lot goes anyway. You got to get the carbon in the soil. And I think that, you know, the modern farmer's already trying to do it. And I think that's where, if we could start a soil testing program in the Light Regional Council, I think, and see how, if you do your test to a metre and see if you can sequester carbon lower than, get it into the lower, and then you can actually count it. So you're going to get an AQ on it. So I think that's a really way we could focus, and it could benefit everyone, every farm. If he's got more carbon in his soil, he's going to be better off. He's going to grow a better crop. And I think that's the focus that I'd rather see us go down rather than planting 900 hectares of trees. But I think that's the way agriculture is going to go.
Thank you, Councillor Collins. Councillor Simon?
If I can make a couple more comments. So first, I think this recommendation doesn't tell us that we're going to spend any money. It just says that we're going to seek solutions to reduce our emissions, which I think that's a fairly obvious point. So it's not that we're going to spend $230,000 a year if we say yes to this. The second thing is I think it's important to find alternative ways to do these reductions, and I think that's very important. And I mean, I've been advocating for planting trees on the land that we own already. I've been doing ever since I got on council. I don't think how many trees have been planted since then. It's probably zero. But we own a lot of land. It's just barren, and I see people go in there. They mow it, they weed it, they spray it, and all this sort of stuff. And I think it'd be much easier to just plant lots of trees on there, and then you don't have to do nothing anymore. So that would be a thing. And the other thing I've been advocating for a long time is trying to get a house built that actually tells people to build houses not with black roofs and with double glazed windows and all this other stuff that a lot of people just don't know. They think, oh, it's expensive and it's not going to work. But if we had a house that people could walk in, have a look at, know exactly the cost differences and the long-term forecast in over 5 years, over 10 years, that's how much money we're going to save. I think a lot more houses will be built with white roofs and with better solar orientation and with double glazed windows and water tanks and everything else. So,
Point of order, Mr. Mayor, or Mayor Bill. Are we following any particular meeting procedure here, or we're just chewing the fat?
No, I think we've got off our track a little bit there, but do appreciate your passion, Councillor Simon. I think accept the point of order. We can move on. We've got a recommendation down the bottom of page 76. If there are no more questions, Councillor and Councillor Simon will take to second that. Like to speak on the recommendation? No. Councillor Simon? No. I'll put the recommendation if there are no more questions or comments. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, we've got a supplementary agenda tonight, and I need to bring that in now because it's number 13.9, the reports for decision, which needs to come now as part of our meeting procedure and our where we're up to, I should say. It's on page, well, it's on page 3. It's a separate document, councillors, supplementary agenda. And the first report for decision is the local government participations and election review survey. There's a recommendation 2/3 of the way down the page. Are there any comments or questions, councillors?
I'll move the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Bills. Move the motion. Like to speak on this? Someone like to second this motion? Councillor Simon, like to speak on that, Councillor Simon? I had a few concerns with this, and I think the fact that most of us let the team down badly, including myself. We didn't respond when we were asked to the survey that went out. And of course, I think there was only 2 council members that actually complied with the survey that went out. There was, and as a result, and in fairness, Kari can only collate a report and put it together on the information that she's provided with, and that was by 2 councillors. But one of the recommendations in there is and it's been ticked off as strongly agree that meetings, councillors can attend meetings online. That worries me a lot, simply because that is totally opposed to everything that's part of the Local Government Act. It says you come to a council meeting in a room, you sit in your seat, you have an open mind, and you listen to the debate, and you make your decisions accordingly. You can only make your decision as well as, or vote as well as, if you're in your seat. Even if you leave the room, you can't vote. We're sort of suggesting here, if we accept that particular aspect of the recommendation, it's saying that we agree that meetings could be held offline. Now, I'm not too sure, if we went around the room now, how that would go, whether that is our opinion or not, bearing in mind only 2 councillors responsive. Councillor Collins?
Could I make an amendment? And that could be one, we could make an amendment. I rang Terry today. There's a few other things that I don't, I'd like to make an amendment on. I don't care if it goes either way, but the reason I put these points up is I'd like the chairman to actually argue them a bit, or have them tested, because I didn't agree with them all, and I also didn't fill out the thing, and I'm not that proud of that. I should have. We still can actually fill it out, but I just would like to put up these couple of amendments. If no one agrees, we'll go pretty quickly. But yeah, I just So
Yeah,
I
thanks,
just-
Councillor Collins. I might refer to Kari because I think we've got extra time now to get this submission in. And if council feel that they would just be prepared to complete this form and get it into Kari in the time frame required, that is more of a reflective submission from our council than what we've got there at present. Because two councillors really is not good enough to sort of say that's our opinion, because it's not. And it's no criticism of the staff that filled the rest of it in, but it's supposed to be a council submission, and currently it's not. So I would perhaps suggest maybe that we could have another go at this time, ensure that we all put a tick in the box somewhere along the line.
And the ones, about the only ones that everyone disagrees with. So if we could just have a chat about it now, get it cleaned up and we forget about it. That's the way I was sort of thinking about it, you know.
That mightn't be so easy. There's 40 questions in there. Kari, would you like to say something?
Speaking to Richard, we were discussing in regards to an amendment. And the amendment being what's being put up on screen, as discussed earlier in the day with Councillor Collin on his opinions into regard to this. I suppose just a quick conversation that we've had then is whether this should be accepted as an amendment or it just goes through and then as the original motion, and then if it doesn't get through, then we add a newer motion, only because the and as been pointed out, the changes in the amendments aren't meant to be changing the intent. It's meant to be minor changes to a motion. I suppose looking at this, if we're saying agree on something and now changing it to disagree, you could argue that that would be a major change, which wouldn't be an amendment. So, Councillor Collin, I apologise for that. I would suggest. Correct. Yeah. So I would have the motion. You're speaking against the original motion, which is removing those ones. And then if that doesn't get through, then move a motion to include those items. As Mayor Bill did mention though, the submission now has just been extended by the Office of Local Government to the end of March. The final date was till the end of February, but it has been pushed out.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the motion has been moved and seconded, so the motion needs to be put at some point. So if the motion was to be lost at this point, it doesn't, I think what Kari's saying is it then gives an opportunity to do something completely different, including come back and review, including, pardon? It could be, but I think in terms of what you're saying is those items that you've raised could be considered.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification.
Sorry, and that could be done either tonight. If what we're looking at right there was to be lost, you could then turn around and say, I've got something that I've been thinking about, and put that.
But I guess that might be a little bit tricky because we all might have the same views and we all might want to participate in a survey in the room tonight, and we'll be here forever because it's 50 questions. I think we need to take this back, a blank sheet back, and do it as we were asked to in the first place, and submit them and have that collated, and that becomes our submission.
Yeah, I tried to do it online and I had trouble.
Yeah, I did too.
And I lost interest and then forgot about it. So it's my fault. I'm not.
I think if we can do it manually, quite frankly, I had a lot of trouble doing it online, and doing it manually though, no problem at all. it's fairly straightforward, apart from putting written responses in there, but you don't have to do that. It's mainly to tick the boxes is the important thing. I'm getting a look.
Yeah, through the chair, the option on the email that I sent, there was an Excel spreadsheet. I also mentioned that if anyone wanted it printed, they could have asked and I would print it for them. Yeah.
Mayor Bill,
Yeah,
through the chair, I must admit I was, I put it off. I had every intent to do it, and unfortunately I did put it off. The simple fact that when I opened the file, I saw that there was a part there where there was the option for free. Well, I didn't think it was an option at the time, but certainly a segment there for free text. And I thought, well, yeah, this is going to take forever. So I actually did put it off, now knowing that you know, that part is optional, and you can, as long as you sort of tick the boxes to get a bit of a feel, I'm more likely to be engaged, knowing that it'll probably only take 10, 15 minutes of my life rather than a few hours. So,
well, that's precisely the point, I think. I think there's sort of a feeling in the room that perhaps we start again, which would mean that we'd have to put this motion, and this motion would have to be lost, and we start again and give everyone the option to have a printed version and to tick the boxes and get them in by a certain date, and then that can be collated. And I would certainly feel far more comfortable to know that everyone had their opportunity and contributed, and that becomes our submission as a council, not just a couple of councillors. And there's no disrespect for those people that did it, because good on them. They took the time and trouble to do it, but it's not reflective of where we need to be. So I guess.
just quickly, without creating too much work, but is there an option to have it more like a you know, Survey Monkey type format? Because the Excel sort of thing, trying to read it on this screen with my great eyes is very difficult.
No, we get a hard copy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
You just tick the box. It's
Just trying to save a few trees along the way for Andrew.
Mr. Simon?
Can I re-get my chances to speak as a seconder? So I was one of them that didn't fill it out, and I'm not proud of that. Same reason as Councillor Collin, I thought I could do it online, I couldn't. So, but that's no excuse. I'm just was lazy, and so therefore I'm thinking this is the outcome. Let's just go with it. It's just the submission. We can all, each of us, and I've done that, have a personal submission, and then you get your submission. So let's just go with it, get it done, and don't fuss too much about it. It's just a little submission to some survey that.
This is on behalf of the council, and
yes,
the council talks about the region. It's our region.
We don't really. Yeah. So these two councillors, because they were doing a good job, they get their say. I think that's fair enough. We stuffed up, so we don't get our say. I'm all for. That's why I seconded, and I'm happy to just put the motion, please.
Mr. Mayor, could I make a comment?
Certainly.
I think the idea of getting a paper copy is a lot better, because I tried to do it online and I got halfway through and it all went to pieces and I couldn't do it. I personally would like to have a paper copy, and I think if everybody had a paper copy, then they get it back to you and you can make a full council decision.
Well, the first thing I guess we have to do is address this particular motion, because it's up there. So I think we've had a fair bit of discussion around. I'll put this motion. All those in favour? Against? So that motion is lost. We've now got a blank canvas, and I think the suggestion has been that we all receive a paper version of this particular survey, and we get it back to Kari as quickly as we possibly can. And that can be a date of yours choosing, Kari.
Thank you, through the chair. I think the concern with potentially 10 people providing me with a form with 10 different opinions, I may have a bit of a problem combining all those 10 responses to one item. Quite difficult, particularly if there are 10 varying opinions. There obviously a position of council needs to come through as one position of council. So potentially we might need to have a think through this and come back to council with a better suggestion on how to manage 10 varying opinions.
But if we'd all done that online, you would have had that problem anyway.
I think through the chair as a starting point, we'll get the paper copies done so that we can collate, see where we land, and a further report will be brought back in at the end of March in preparation for the submission. If there's significant variance, then we will re-engage. End of the week. No, just kidding. I'd probably say end of next week. Agendas are due in 10 days' time or something like that. So. Yep.
Mr. Member, can I just make a comment? I did fill it out, and I mean, some of the questions are quite polarised. So do you want to have compulsory voting, or do you not? I mean, there's probably four votes anyway. So it's, I don't know how you want to get an opinion from council.
That's right.
On that matter, it's because we could all have different, and I agree with Kerry. You could all have strongly agree all the way across in five or nine different votes. And how does she make head or tail of that? It's the problem with any survey, and it's.
I totally agree.
It's a very difficult thing to get an accurate guide at the end of it. I really don't know the value of it really myself.
Certainly, Richard.
Yeah, look, I think to back Councillor Simon up, I mean, what's really important is that that there are 10 surveys completed by individual elected members. That's to me the really important thing, because you're quite right, Councillor Bill. If we get 5 strongly agrees and 5 strongly disagrees on the matter, we end up being neutral in the middle, which I would argue is actually of no value to anybody. I think what they would want to see is some really passionate views and differing views on it, so they can actually make an opinion. I look at it and go, if we've got 68 councils and we've got 700 people who are all wanting to make submissions, brilliant. And I know that we're going to end up with more than 700, because I know that around this room, there's probably at least half a dozen staff that have probably equally done their own submissions. And I know that other people who aren't here tonight are doing their own as well. That's what we want to get. But equally, I think it's good to do a council position on it, recognising it's a challenge to get that to it. The 10 different views on it. But we'll grab the information and we'll see where it lands with us.
Yeah, I think you made some very good comments, very good points there. Collating that, if you got 10 different. Well, across the top there, you've got 6 different boxes you can tick. And we've got 9 councillors, or 10 councillors. So those boxes could be all over the place. I wonder if we all get our own copy of this, and we all take the responsibility of filling it out and seeing it and getting it together, and they go in individually. And then how we get a council position on it, I'm not sure about. That's something we could probably talk about within the room. But each of us as council members, really, we've got enough knowledge of how council works and everything else to provide some very valuable information to the people who want to review, want to collate all these and get that information and get local government to look like what people want it to look like. And we've got an opportunity to make us have a say. Councillor Collins?
Yeah, that was the whole purpose of my amendment, because I thought there's only about 5 things that most people in here really care about. I think it's the ward system, whether you have that, whether you have 2 terms or 4 terms, or whether you go as long as you want. And those are the things. What was the other one? Got compulsory voting. I don't agree with compulsory voting, but if the chamber did, we put it in. And I thought we just could have moved on. That's why I did it, because I just think. Because I see Councillor Michael send an email out saying that the ward system, he didn't want it. But then if you speak to people at Barossa, who when they got rid of it, people at Mount Pleasant are really pissed off about it.
That's right.
Because they can't go to someone you know, like someone from Kapunda can come to me and Dean and Fabio, someone from up the other end from Freeling can go and see my net. I think it works well in a country organisation, in a country council, and that's why I sort of wanted to just nut those out, but it didn't come to that, so we'll have to start again.
But that makes a lot of sense. It does. But when we've got 50 questions, I wish we had 5.
Yeah, but that's why I did the amendment, because over the 5 that I thought the only ones that were really that we as a council cared about. So I just thought I'd put them up as an amendment. We'd have a blue about it, you know, have a discussion about it, come up with a number, you know, the consensus, and we just send it away. That's what I thought.
No, it makes sense. Probably any way we do this will make a bit of sense, but
Through
I
the,
guess we've got to do something.
through the chair, why don't you put that up as a motion now? We're allowed to do it, so.
Did you have in your motion, councillor?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that.
Did you talk about question?
I know people aren't going to agree with what I'm saying, but I'm happy to go with the, we'll just put every amendment to the vote, and then the consensus is what the council wants. I know we've got one missing, but you know, he's not here, so.
Well, I think you make a very good point, and I accept that. I'm just looking at what I did there, and I think there's only a couple that I strongly disagreed to. And most of them I was either neutral or around the mark, strongly agreed. So, you know, I was a fairly conservative sort of voter, I suppose. But the ones I strongly disagreed with, I strongly disagree. And one of them was for example, the level of the allowances that councillors receive for being councillors. I think, it's pathetic, to be quite frank. And the way to overcome that, of course, is to not tax it. You know, and straight away that brings it up to a reasonable level. But you know, we talked at our last meeting, I think, about getting more people around the table and getting them interested in being a member of the council. But gee, you get more profit from being a member of the footy club than you would around the table here. And the time you've got to put into it, and we all know that it's almost a full-time job for some councillors.
So question 31 is just if council voting and council election should be compulsory for all voters. We've got agree, and I'm saying disagree.
Yeah, well, I disagree with it, only because compulsory voting, where it takes place in Australia in local government, the councils become very political. They get full of politicians.
But that's what I'm saying. So if we just put that to the vote, then wouldn't that be the council's?
That's right.
So if you did that.
Oh, I think you're on the money, quite frankly. I think you're on the money, what you put up there.
Questions?
Well,
yeah.
I've been
There's an
advised, and
error.
I think that the advice is very
Your
sound,
18 should be 19, I think.
but we might need to perhaps suspend meeting procedures for the moment, so we can have this discussion without sort of to the chair or anything else.
18.
But this is very interesting. We may be able to come to a conclusion tonight.
I think that's an error.
We can keep talking like we are. We could come to an outcome. So if we suspend meeting procedure, what, for 10 minutes? And see if we can't. Yeah, I need a mover in a second. I've got a mover in a second to suspend meeting procedures for, say, 10 minutes.
Just, Mayor Bill, I just want a point of clarification. To me, it looks like question 18 should actually be question 19, 2 minutes for councils is being referred to there. Question 18 is the ideas about promotional campaigns. If I'm looking at the right survey, which is I got from Carrie.
Yeah, councillor. Question 18 is, are there ideas that you have about how promotional campaigns could encourage community members to nominate to be a councillor? That's asking for a written submission on that question.
Mr. Mayor, just a comment, if I may. I mean, I'm not agreeing with these things, but I think this is a rushed motion. I think we should be. Let's sit on this. Let's have a go, and let's actually sit and read the agenda. Yeah, we have this ward things comes up at every year, every time we have an election, and they come and they talk to us for 3 or 4 hours, trying to talk us out of wards, and we always vote to go back with wards. So, I think this is a bit rushed, in my opinion.
Yeah, what's the consensus, councillors? Do you think we should leave this for another day? Get our copies of a paper copy, fill it out ourselves, and come back to council with with our responses. And all right.
You, through the chair, you'll need to put this motion.
We did adjourn our meeting procedures. Yeah. So we'll
Well, Mr. Mayor, I move this motion be adjourned.
Councillor Bill has moved that this motion be adjourned. That would mean that it's got to come up the next meeting as adjourned business right at the start. But that might be after the date that the submissions have got to be in. What's the date, Carrie, that the submissions need to be? I thought it was March sometime.
The very end of March, so the meeting will be a couple of days before the submission is due.
Oh, would you be happy to be able to work under that time frame if we adjourn this to the next meeting?
Yes, we'll still need to do the pre-work though. We shouldn't adjourn it.
No, we should try and resolve it.
Rather than adjourning, if we put the motion, then if it's lost, then that's okay, because I'm bringing a report back to March anyway. And then we don't need to address these points, which are specific in the motion, which you're adjourning.
Yeah, so if we accept this motion tonight, at least we've got a good starting point, and we should be able to, if we've got to tidy anything up, we can tidy it up.
There are a couple of scenarios here which Carrie and I are not in total alignment on. And what it comes down to is if this matter is adjourned, it will go to the next council meeting and it will be the first matter dealt with. I think what Carrie is alluding to is that we're almost better off to put this motion so it actually clears it out completely. And it can either be cleared out tonight or if it's adjourned, it gets cleared out at the next meeting, if that was the wish of the elected members. We will be bringing a report back regardless, because we're going to capture 10 different submissions anyway, need to probably put that into a report, summarise it all, etc. So that it comes back to Councillor Bill in terms of his wish, given that he did move to adjourn.
No one seconded my motion to adjourn, so let's put the motion and get it.
I think so. We'll move back into our formal meeting procedures. Can I have someone move that we move back into a meeting procedure?
Yes.
So we can do the formal part of this motion. So we're back into our normal meeting now, councillors, and we've got a motion up on the board.
Person who is adjourned.
No, he withdrew it.
But Peter seconded it.
Peter has now
Sorry.
seconded that the matter be adjourned.
Put that and we'll vote against it.
Okay. Well, I've got a motion that says, moved by Councillor Bill, that this matter be adjourned to the next meeting. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Do I have all those in favour? Motion's lost. So we now move back to the motion we have up on our screen, which is moved by Councillor Collins. And I'm not sure who seconded that. Councillor Ellison? We've got a motion up on the screen, councillors, moved by councillor Collins, second by councillor Ellison. You can all read that, of course. Do I have any questions or comments? I have a mover and a seconder who have spoken to the motion. We wouldn't be able to get it done. Now, we're back on the screen. I'll have mover and seconder. All those in favour? This one. This motion.
Yep.
Who's it voting?
You just need.
Right, councillors. There's a recommendation up on the screen. I'm begging you. Do I have a mover? I didn't think we voted on the previous one. I don't think we voted on councillor Collin and councillor Allison's motions. When it was lost. Okay. Goodness me. Well, we have a motion up there, councillors. We did have. There we are. Would someone like to move that way? Councillor Fabio and councillor Dean. Like to speak on that, councillor Fabio? Councillor Dean?
Yeah. I'll speak briefly too. I read the draft strategic plan and the efforts that put into getting a variety of viewers on it. And I think it's comprehensive, well judged and fair and balanced. So I support that it's in a good enough state to go out for public consultation.
Thank you, councillor Dean. Further comments, councillor Simon?
I would speak about it as well. I think it's a great report, and they're getting shorter every year, which is good. They're sharp, they're concise. There's not too much stuff around it. It's quite a good strategic plan. The only thing that I would comment on, and I would have probably commented every single time about it, is to me there's still like on the economy. There's just too much emphasis on tourism. And it always is, like the tourism again is 2% or even less of our whole thing. And there's no mention of light industry or supporting like business attraction to this area, that sort of stuff. I think this is something that we really need to try to do, maybe some incentive scheme, rate rebates and whatever it is, and just a bit less concentration on tourism, a bit more concentration on the stuff that actually makes the money around here, which is agriculture, manufacturing, healthcare, education, that sort of stuff. That's where the real attraction is. That's the only thing. Got a great report.
Yeah, I was going to make exactly the same point, because I see here it's got investing in tourism initiatives and benefit the community, improving tourism information and wayfinding. I think there's two things on tourism. I think one thing that as a council we could really focus on, and it was in earlier they were saying, you know, the Barossa is getting strangled with, they can't develop. And I think the light industry is a thing that we can really look at. Like if you look at Kapunda, how many people are employed down here, the feeling, the Roseworthy industrial zone could really take off. And I think we really, as a economic development council, and I think there's a lot more economic potential there. And I think, and I mentioned with Zoe, I think we both did, Zoe, at the day, that, you know, there's a lot of upside to light industry, and the Barossa can't have it, so we can just have it next door, and we could be an economic, or, you know, I don't know what you call it, a commercial hub that people in the Barossa can use, because they're going to get forced out because it's going to get too expensive. And I think we should focus on that. So maybe in the economy part, something maybe should be mentioned about that. That's all.
Thanks, councillor Collin. Any further comments? all makes sense, and I think we'll all get an opportunity also to have our input into this, into the final plan, of course. I would expect that, and these are the sorts of things that we've got time to deliberate on and work out what we want to actually present when we're putting that plan together. What type of light industry, where would we want to place that, and have a little bit of evidence base so it can be included. But that's fair, and I think any strategic plan needs to be balanced. We need to have all of those elements that make our communities work. And that's it. That is tourism. That is economic. Is light industry. It's heavy industry. It's agricultural industry. All of that, and it all has to be shared, and the opportunities need to be created in those areas. So hopefully we've got that chance that this goes out on public exhibition now and for comment, and we're able to comment. And I think already we've done that this evening, and quite positively as well. Certainly not knocking the draft plan. It's adding to it. So thank you, councillors, for that. We've got the recommendation up on screen there. I'm not sure. Do we have a mover and a seconder for that? That's right. It's all done. Any further comments, councillors? If not, I'll put that recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? And keep the ideas coming and the thoughts coming too, because that's what it's out there for now, to receive what people really think should be in there. Now we move on now to section 16, which is motions on notice. That's correct. Right. Oh, questions. Now, where's the page? Where's that page? It's gone. Yes. No.
It's just so 14 questions on that. So when you
There's no questions on notice and other questions without notice. Are there any questions without notice? I'm missing a page. It wasn't my fault. Questions without notice. Thank you, Councillor Ellison.
I've just got two parts to my question, which relates to the new housing development at Roseworthy. So through the chair and to the CEO or his delegate. First question is, could I get an update on the water/sewage situation at Roseworthy Gardens? So daily they are pumping out sewage from just off Torts Road because they don't have anywhere for it to go. So the pits are filling. So every morning the guy's there like filling his truck and taking that away. And a SA Water employee made mention to somebody who's contacted me to say it's at least 5 years before they're going to get the water sewage sorted out in that area. So I'm just wanting an update on that. That's my first question. And my second question is relating to the dams off Torts Road, which are full now in the middle of summer. So I hate to think in winter what they're going to look like. And on the other side of Torts Road, they've dug a trench across the paddock to the train line, which they're going to release water across. Now, I'd just like to know where that water's going and who's going to monitor that water, because in previous times, months, years, that water's gone along the train line, gone down Redbanks Road, flooded out into the paddock, flooded down Clancy Road and into other paddocks there. Now, I know that there's been talk about purchasing land down Clancy Road to let that water out. When we went on the bus tour, it was mentioned from the landholders down there. So I'm just looking for an update on this and what plans they've got for that dam before we actually get to winter, considering it's full now in summer.
Thank you, Councillor Ellison.
We'll take both those questions on notice.
Thanks, Councillor Ellison. Questions
Mr. Mayor,
without notice?
I've got a question without notice. Regarding, it goes back to our presentation about the bus services. Would it be suitable to put a business case up to look at providing a volunteer bus once a week during that period? That would be suitable for a business case, or should I ask for a report now? What's the guidance? Well, I could do that, but or should I make a business case of it later on? So the budget, we still got time for business case.
I had a motion without notice to put about that, a presentation on the buses, which covers what you were talking about, councillor Bill.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
I've worded
That's a
that.
good outcome for someone who's taken the time to be here and put something to us. At least we're seeing some action. That's great. So we'll take that with a motion on notice, shall we? Would you like that? No. So we got that motion without notice? No. Okay. All right, we'll move on to section 16, which is the motions on notice, and we'll take that shortly on without notice. There's a motion up there from councillor Michael in relation to the work health and safety matters and so forth. I must say I did have a little bit of an issue with this. I looked through that very thoroughly, that report we got from Norman Waterhouse, and this is almost bordering on ultra vires. I don't have the skills to sit here and say that definitely is, but reading the report from Norman Waterhouse would give me the clear impression that this is outside of our responsibilities and our terms of business. We're bringing persons into this, and then we could cause ourselves a little bit of problem in the future with names and so forth that may need to be included in some of these reports.
We got a second, Mr. Mayor?
Excuse me?
Is it seconded?
I didn't move it. I can't. It hasn't been moved. I just made that comment. That's all.
He put the motion, but he needs to be here to move.
I just had the feeling it may be ultra virus, but I don't have the skill to understand that legal advice we got to say for sure that it is. But it certainly is a borderline case of being out of our powers. There's quite a clear line between operation.
Could I just ask a question through the chair? Can we not hold this over until councillor Michael's back to speak on it? Because he's not here to give us a bit more of a rundown. It's just.
If I may, through the chair, I actually spoke to councillor Michael about that. He was quite happy for it to go to a vote. I expressed my concerns. I tried to source the motivation for the initial motion, and he did give an explanation, but personally I wasn't satisfied with the explanation, and I was quite clear in my intent to vote against it, to which he didn't seem overly concerned either.
Thanks, Councillor Barbier. Thanks, Councillor Allison. Councillor Coleman.
Well, could I just ask a question? So, as a council, we'd know this. You'd know this anyway. But you'd be doing quarterly reports on safety. But most companies do, I think, don't they? So, if all this stuff's been done and internally it's been done, there's no real point for us to know. But is it being done? And then I'd be happy actually not to support it. But as long as an organisation it is being done, I'm quite happy to. I don't want to know. But legally we're doing it anyway. So this is just for. Yeah. Well. Yep.
Thanks. Thanks, Richard. Thanks, Councillor Coleman.
Yeah. Through the chair, our council is a member of the Local Government Workers' Compensation Scheme, which effectively is independent insuring of council's employees, similar to the state government. They don't go through work cover. If we were to pay work cover levy, we would be up for quite a bit more in our annual premiums. But because we've got the collective size, we're actually able to develop our own scheme of which is what we've done. Each year we're audited by the scheme. And obviously these sort of things of quarterly reporting, and it's quite intensive auditing occurs of our organisation. So if we weren't passing those type of audits, those sort of reports would filter their way through to the Audit and Risk Committee, who I think would be making recommendations and comments to council. But from my point of view, I think there is a very robust system in place already. And to be honest, the reporting that would come through to council would not be what we provide internally. It would be filtered down because we can't provide those reports publicly.
Further comments, councillors? Thank you, Richard, for that. No further comments? I'm not too sure, Councillor Michael's not here tonight to move his motion, but I might ask, would anyone else like to move this motion? If not, the motion is lost. It lapses, sorry. Thank you, councillors. We can move on to 16.2, the secure and affordable housing. Councillor Michael once again, and again, a very serious recommendation there, or motion, I should say. I'm very sympathetic to what he's saying here, but I'm just very cautious too to suggest that we've got the capacity to be able to get involved with this particular matter as well. So I'll open up for discussion. Any comments or questions, councillors, in relation to this? Councillor Dean?
I have a question, the answer which probably can't be given now, but it's one that I need to know before I was comfortable with this motion. That is, it seems to me reading it that it would require a significant contribution of resources, both human and financial. It's not in the long-term financial plan. It goes beyond what we've done in the past. And my question is, how much does it cost, and what will we not be able to do if we do it? And whilst I think it's a very important topic, I don't think we're the body to do it. So have we got any idea how much it might cost, or is it pie in the sky?
That's just for the report.
I'm not talking about this report. I'm talking about the consequences of passing it in terms of how much it will cost to spend that amount of effort on this topic.
I think through the chair, our plan at this stage is this is only a strategy. So we see this as being the 76 hours being really a document that would be presented to the elected body, outlining some of these things. But I think it would be stopping short of getting involved in being a provider of housing. But certainly, given that we have equally identified it in our draft strategic plan, affordable housing, it doesn't seem incompatible with what's in that. And I think to provide something to council for it to consider seems appropriate to me.
Thank you, Richard. Further questions or comments, councillors? If not, I have a motion there, but I need someone to move that way. Or there's no one to move that way, the motion lapses. Thank you, councillors. I think it's probably something for another day, though, maybe in a more narrow form. I think community housing is probably something that councils used to be involved with, and I think many of our small towns have got evidence of that. We've got here in Kapunda, the old Johnson cottages and so forth, that were built probably in those times by the community, for the community, and that sort of thing seems to be a bit lost now. And maybe it's time to have a good look at what we actually need, particularly for short-term housing for people who are really desperate, and there's a lot of them. Councillor Dean, did you want to?
I thought we might have been up to a motion without notice. I just wanted to remind you.
We are indeed.
Would you like me to read out that motion, Mayor Bill?
Yes, please.
This is relating to the ideas that Damien raised about the bus system, and it seemed to me that it was a creative approach just to supplement the existing service by providing a service for the gaps, as it were. And my motion is the report be presented to a future council meeting exploring the feasibility of providing a bus service during school holidays proposed by Damien Ritchie in his presentation to council on 27/2/24, and other possible actions council could take to address this gap. So there may be some other things that might be suggested, particularly if this recommends that it's not feasible. So that's the motion. I'll move it.
Thank you, Councillor Simon. I have a mover and a second. Have any comments or questions, councillors? Well,
Mr. Mayor, just I wonder whether I can make an amendment to it that that the report looks not, even if it doesn't supply service 5 days a week. I don't know whether that's sensible, but just
I'm happy with including that if the I would have thought that it was broad enough that that would be considered, that at feasibility it might be saying, okay, it's going to cost this much, but if we do 3 days a week instead of 5, it'll cost this much, and perhaps we can just direct that to the writers of the report informally.
thank you, Dean. Happy with that, Councillor Bill? Is this bus could also take the training as well? Yes, I think it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Councillors, are we comfortable with this recommendation up on the screen? Are you comfortable with that, Councillor Dean and Councillor Bill? All right, are there any comments or questions, councillors? No, because if not, I'll put the recommendation. All those in favour? Those against? Motion is carried. Thanks, councillors.
Sorry, what was that?
We have no confidential items, and our next meeting is our regular meeting of council, which will be the 4th Tuesday in March. Tonight, thank you ever so much, councillors, for your confidence in myself tonight. I really did appreciate that. And also the spirit of the way this meeting's been conducted. I think we're back to being our old selves again, and I think we've got a lot to be look forward to. It's been an excellent meeting, and we've got some really good outcomes. And I hope everyone has been able to have a bit of a say.